You had sent me over this article here about a review of the Dio hologram.
Yes. Not glowing. Dude, it's so funny. What is funny to me is the people that are associated with this thing that don't seem to get it, why people are annoyed with it, I guess.
Okay.
You know, like, and the two guys I'm going to name are both friends of the show. So hopefully they're still friends of the show after I name them.
Okay.
But Ripper has been online just banging on people hard that have been saying anything negative about the Dio show.
I did see that. Yes.
He's been, and of course he's in the band, you know, he's in the Disciples, and he's one of the singers that sings when I don't know, when they're changing light bulbs or whatever they do to, you know, make the show go. And then the other one that's been out there lately has been Jizzy.
Yeah, I know. I saw his little tweet the other popped up about must see.
Yeah, that it's a must see thing. But he's also been questioning, you know, if people don't want to see it as well. You know, saying just accept it. It's a reality. This summer there's going to be a Jimi Hendrix, and next year there's going to be a this or that, and you know, people, the band guys are all embracing it, and I'm just like, first of all, I don't understand why the band guy. I understand Ripper because he's getting paid for it, and I guess I understand Jizzy because he's on the tour. But you know, in essence, this sounds to me like these, especially a guy like Jizzy, this is almost like taking his gig. Because in the future, why would you bring in another singer? You just fucking do a hologram, right?
Well, I guess if say, let's just say that if the singer is still a viable singer and he gets replaced by a hologram, then I could see that being an issue. Yeah. If you're doing a hologram of someone that is no longer living, that's a whole different story.
But I don't think it's going to be that way. I think, you know how Jizzy joined Rat?
Yes.
When Steven was obviously still living.
Right.
I think in the future, that's not going to be how it's going to be.
So they'll just, you know, the guy is still a viable singer. They'll just replace him with a hologram.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that. Why would that not happen?
Well, I'm not saying it wouldn't. I'm just saying at the stage it's at currently.
Yeah.
They're talking holograms of people who are deceased.
Sure.
But I'm not saying that it couldn't expand out to having a hologram of somebody. Well, who would the hologram be of?
Steven.
Do you think that the viable singer would allow his image to be used like that?
Well, I think that he would be as a member of Rat, they could use anything that he did. Just like they get paid when they play his songs. You know, they don't stop playing his songs on the radio when Jizzy takes over.
Well, true, but I want to go at the angle of if Rat, since you use that as an entity,
yeah,
was still around,
mm-hmm.
and Steven was not in the band, would this be sanctioned by Steven to replace him with a hologram?
No, it would be sanctioned by the corporation.
All right. So how does somebody use your likeness in a hologram if you're still alive?
Because I have to think that with this influx of this, bands are going to make this part of their thing. That everything, and I do think that their likeness is still allowed to be used, even when they replace them. I mean, how many David Lee Roth things did we see come out of Van Halen when Sammy was the singer? You still saw pictures of David Lee Roth.
Yeah, but a lot of the time that was used by promoters who used something that they weren't supposed to be using, and a lot of them have to, you know, they didn't get permission to use that likeness. They used it, but until somebody tells them you can't use it,
yeah,
they have to cease and desist.
You don't think that these new bands, though, are going to see this and capitalize on it? The original guys that formed the band aren't going to say, hey, anybody in this band, you know, if you get replaced, you get replaced. We still own all the intellectual property.
Well, that's a little bit different. And if you're an upstart band that doesn't already, that has to form a new corporation with those bylaws in it, that's a little bit different. These legacy bands, if they're still out there touring and the original guy, whoever it is, singer, whatever, is still alive and still viable as a singer, do you think that they're going to be able to just take him as a likeness and just use him as a hologram?
I do, and I'll tell you exactly why I do.
How do they do that legally? How do you think they could do that legally?
I don't think the guys that are today, like the old, like the 80s bands, no. But I think new bands that are coming up, the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah, if they have that written into the bylaws that your likeness rights can be used even after your departure.
Yeah, and I think that's how it's going to be.
Okay, well, I get that. I get that part.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're going to fucking trot out a a Brian Johnson hologram next time. I'm not saying that. He's been around too long. But I do think that as we move forward and this becomes a thing, there is definitely going to be a time when you are going to see live musicians replaced by fucking holograms of themselves. I totally think that's going to happen.
Well, I think that's a ways down the road, though, because who is going to be an up-and-coming band that'll actually matter?
Well, I mean, let's say that it's Rival Sons, who are getting a lot of notoriety these days. If those kids were smart, or Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet's getting a lot of run these days, whether people like them or not.
Okay.
If I was that band, I would definitely cap it. I would make the band, all 4 guys or 5 guys, whatever there is in the band, sign a thing saying that Greta Van Fleet is an entity, and whether you're in the band or out of the band, Greta Van Fleet is an entity, and we're licensed to do whatever we want to with the entity that is Greta Van Fleet. And I honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, I think the old bands could probably do that as well. They can definitely use anything that was recorded. They can release, and bands have been doing that for years, releasing DVDs of, Van Halen live in '78 or whatever.
Yeah, but that's not an actual live performance, though. That's just a video release.
Neither is a hologram. That's not.
But it is a live performance because
it's a projector.
No, I'm saying that the rest of the band is out there performing using one of the members as a hologram.
Okay, so you're saying that there's a percentage? What's the percentage? Half? 1/4?
Well, but here's my point. So people who, we're talking legacy bands here now. We're not talking new bands. I don't think let's just say Judas Priest.
Mm-hmm.
They're still out there touring.
Right.
And say Rob Halford decides he wants to leave the band again.
Okay.
And go do a solo thing.
Yeah.
Still a viable singer. He's still carrying on today.
Okay.
But I don't think Judas Priest can go out there and perform with the remaining members with a Rob Halford hologram without his, giving his blessing to do it.
I think they can. They would just have to pay him for the use of his image as his imagery from Judas Priest. He would make the royalty that he made from the recordings of Judas Priest.
But I think he would have to agree to accept.
I don't think he would. It's like a company versus individual, guys. If you get if your company gets sued, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get sued.
True.
Because the company is an entity. It's an entity away from the individual.
Well, I get that. But when it comes to being a personality,
mm-hmm.
you have to have some kind of an agreement about how your likeness rights are being used.
When the company of Judas Priest, when Ripper was in the band of Judas Priest, when the company had airplay of "You've Got Another Thing Coming," Rob Halford got paid.
Correct.
when the company released a DVD with Rob Halford in the band, like an old DVD, live in '78 or whatever.
Yeah.
Rob Halford got paid.
That's because that's a recording.
Well, so is this.
It's not, though. It's a
Rob Halford in Judas. This is a recording of Judas Priest's singer performing with the band. It's a recording.
But it's also a public performance.
Okay, if they were to green screen out everything but Rob Halford and then put in the guys from Primal Fear on video as the backing band, would that be different? To release it as a DVD? It wouldn't be real. It was Rob Halford with Primal Fear now. Would that be the same? Would that be?
It's again, it just depends on what the agreement for likeness rights is.
And my hunch tells me that the company is separate from individuals.